You know, this is really a story about a choice between profit and principle. It takes place in a marketplace where the real currency, well, it isn't just gold, it's trust. Assalamu alaikum. Today on Nuran Academy, we're going to discuss a timeless principle of Islamic commerce. If you find this beneficial, please do support us by subscribing and sharing it as a sadaqah. So to really get into our story, we first have to understand its foundation. You see, in Islam, commerce is never just about commerce. It's so much deeper than that. It all starts with this spiritual idea that sustenance is actually a sacred duty. Think about it. Back in the Islamic Golden Era, food wasn't just inventory sitting on a shelf. It was life itself. And our tradition is very clear that life is not something you gamble with for a quick profit. Once you grasp that, it completely transforms the marketplace. It's no longer just a place for transactions, it becomes an arena of profound spiritual responsibility. And this brings us right to the core concept here, which is rizq. Now, this word, it means so much more than just sustenance. It's really about a sacred trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the key principle is circulation. Rizq is meant to flow through a community with justice. It's not supposed to be hoarded away to profit from other people's desperation. A great example of this principle in action is the story of Ayyub, a humble grocer. His whole philosophy really rested on this one powerful belief. If I control food, I carry people's trust. So for him, you see, ownership wasn't about power at all. It was about stewardship. But, of course, every belief is eventually tested, right? And for Ayyub, that test came in the form of scarcity. And scarcity, well, it's a trial that has a way of revealing the true character of any market and of every single merchant within it. So how did it all start? Well, it began simply, like these things often do. The rains failed. And from there, it was like a domino effect. Supplies started to dwindle, prices naturally began to climb, and before long, fear was spreading through the city even faster than hunger. This was the moment of trial. And in a crisis like this, you really start to see two different paths emerge. On one side, you had the hoarders. They saw this scarcity and thought, aha, an opportunity for leverage. So they locked up their storerooms and just waited for prices to peak. But on the other side, you had Ayyub, the trustee. He was watching too, but not with calculation. He was watching with a deep contemplation of his responsibility. So what does that path of conscience actually look like in practice? Well, for Ayyub, it meant making a very deliberate choice. He chose to prioritize the circulation of food over the control of it. You could see his principles so clearly in his actions. First, he sold his grain at a fair and steady price. He didn't jack it up. He also limited bulk buying to stop other people from hoarding. And he made sure to prioritize families who were in genuine need. And, this is so crucial, he maintained perfectly honest and exact measures. Every single one of these actions was like a pillar holding up his integrity. Now, you can imagine his friends probably warned him, Ayyub, you're going to be the first one to run out of stock. But his response, it just perfectly captures the essence of his character. He said, better to empty my store than empty my conscience. I mean, for Ayyub, it was clear. Spiritual purity was just so much more valuable than any kind of material security. So, what happened? What were the consequences of taking this righteous path? You know, in a world that's so often focused on material return on investment, Ayyub's story shows us a completely different kind of currency, and that's the currency of trust. Think about the irony here. The other merchants had full storerooms, but their shops were empty. Ayyub, on the other hand, received a totally different kind of reward. When new supply caravans finally arrived, the suppliers actually sought him out first. His neighbors stood guard over his shop, protecting it like it was their own. And his customers? They came back with a kind of loyalty that money just can't buy. In the end, trust became his greatest, most resilient asset. And this principle of his, it was tested again. A group of other merchants came to him with a proposal, basically a partnership built on synchronized hoarding to maximize everyone's profit. And of course he refused. That very night, he wrote down this personal creed for himself, a powerful reminder. It said, rizq that traps others will trap me before Allah. You know, Ayyub's story is so much more than just a parable. It's really a profound lesson on what the true role of an entrepreneur is in our tradition. And that role, It's to be a guardian of mercy and commerce. So, Ayyub's legacy wasn't about wealth. It was about the security he provided for his entire community. His name literally became synonymous with safety. Whenever times got uncertain, people would find comfort in this simple saying, if Ayyub has food, the city will manage. Just think about that. His personal integrity had become a source of public good. And that's the takeaway, really. True entrepreneurship, when you look at it from an Islamic perspective, it's not just about managing supply and demand. It's a sacred duty. It's about guarding mercy within the flow of that sustenance, about being a source of ease for people, not a source of hardship. So this whole story leaves us with a pretty important question for our own lives, doesn't it? In our own spheres of influence, whatever they may be, when we find ourselves in control of something that others need, what will we choose? Are we going to maximize our leverage, or are we going to protect lives?
Presented and created by Nurin Studio.